Let's welcome my friend and fellow entrepreneur, Reggie Alphonso. Reggie, welcome.
Grarzy, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How's your day going so far?
It's fun. It's good. It's a good day.
It's really good because Reggie and I, just before we both went live, we realized that we couldn't hear each other because I had the mute on. So I had my
Mute's
mute
been a
on
killer
my
all day.
computer, and then I had my phone, which I didn't have mute on. So between the two, I'm batting 1,000. I think that's good, right? I don't know sports. Anyways, Reggie, thanks for coming on the show today. Really appreciate it. Before we really jump into the kind of meat and potatoes, want to give you an opportunity to share, a little bit about game day sports, what you guys are doing there. Tell everybody what it is, what you're excited about, and then I'm just going to just pepper you with a lot of questions about
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to get peppered, man. It's going to be fun.
it.
But good, man. Yeah, thank you. Game day sports, it's all about trying to elevate the responsibility of youth sports. I personally grew up with a single mom, and so no dad at home. And the only male role models I had were all of my sports coaches. So for me, sports holds a really, really dear place in my heart. It's where I learned a lot of life lessons. It's where I gained relationships, learned how to persevere, how to push myself, how to set goals and attain them. Learned how to lose. That's an important part of life. So game day sports for me is all about bundling all of that and providing a platform where hopefully thousands and thousands of kids will have the same opportunity, regardless of their background, regardless of where they come from. They just have an awesome chance to be a part of something that's about fun, character, and respect.
Love that. Love that. And you're based in Arizona right
Yep,
now,
yep,
right?
yep. We're in Phoenix, Arizona right now.
Okay.
Yep.
So something jumped out at me at your kind of explanation is the responsibility of youth sports. So talk
Yeah.
to me more about maybe what you believe that to be and why that's a part of kind of your mission statement.
Yeah, it's huge for us because one of the things. So I have three kids, two older boys and a little girl. My two older boys, I coached everything for them. So it was just a coaching for me was a ton of fun because it gave me a chance to build memories and be a part of their experiences. But that gave me a chance to be around a lot of different sports leagues and a lot of different sports with them, and I just started to notice a trend of just parents and their demeanor on the sidelines, coaches, coaching 5 and 6 year olds like they're getting a paycheck, and just all of these things that for me were starting to tarnish what youth sports is supposed to be about,
Mm.
and it was becoming about a bunch of adults reliving, their childhoods or escalate or elevating their own egos, or it was about them, and it wasn't about the lessons that we're supposed to be teaching these kids. And so as I thought of that, and as I thought about starting this venture, for me it was really about the purity of youth sports and how it can be this powerful force that brings communities together, that brings people together, that brings all of these great things out of people and especially kids. And so it's just really been important for me to keep that as the core reason of what we're doing with youth sports.
I was gonna say, I mean, definitely kids need it, but I think there's probably a good number of adults that probably need it as well.
Yeah,
So
no doubt, no doubt.
just watching, we're pretty new into it. I've got a 6-year-old who, we're just getting familiar with the whole junior sports league, and it's pretty intense. And I
Yeah,
think to your point, kind of in some of the wrong ways
yep,
sometimes.
yep,
And I see this happen, sometimes it's almost too intense in the wrong ways. Other
yep.
times it's way too soft.
Not
So
intense enough.
how does your organization strike that balance?
Yeah, that's a great question. And for me, you and I met because we were sitting next to each other and we were competing at work. And I know how competitive you are, and vice versa. So it's not about removing competition for me at all. I think competition is healthy. Kids need to learn to win and lose. Kids need to compete with themselves as much as with their opponents. And so we never want to take that out of sports. That's a big part of the life lessons. But what we want to do is we want to compete to the line of respect. And that's something that we share all the time with our coaches, our referees, our parents. There's a healthy way to compete, and then there's just a very unhealthy and disrespectful way to compete. And we are constantly changing and tweaking things or adding things to our experience to make sure that we compete as hard as we possibly can, right up to that line of respect, and we never cross that. So that's kind of
Love
our,
that.
our our mantra.
Love that. And I mean, you've got winners and losers.
Yep.
You're keeping score.
Yep.
You've got player of the game,
Yep.
player of the week. Is that
Yep.
right? Is that
Absolutely.
so? And not everybody wins. So you're
No.
not giving out consolation prizes for showing up. You're giving full on, here's here's the player of the game. Tell us
Absolutely.
what criteria you use for those players of the game, because I know it's a little different.
Yeah, for us, we use the player of the games is a great opportunity for us to really hit home our life lessons. And so at the beginning of every season, we let our parents know that every week we have a specific weekly focus. And that weekly focus might be sportsmanship, it might be teamwork, it might be character. Whatever the case is, and so we send that out ahead of times, and whatever week that we're in, our coaches know that at practice and at games, they're defining what that means. They're having a quick team meeting to talk about what that looks like in sports and in life. And at the conclusion of that week, all of the coaches pick one athlete that embodied whatever we were trying to learn that week the best. And then they're choosing that player for the player of the game. And so after the game, they get a free meal, they get a free Gatorade. And it's just, a neat and fun way for them to take on that life lesson, and then be rewarded by being that week.
What kind of things are you seeing come out of that? Because that's, again, I mean, I just kind of carrying it throughout the week, throughout practice. You guys are talking about it. You guys are
Yeah.
applying it to life. So, give us a feel good story about where that's having an impact.
Yeah, what's cool is the stories that come out of it, right? Like one of the weeks we had leadership, and so all of the kids, when they get chosen, they come to our main tent, and then our volunteers or myself or one of us is asking them before we give them their voucher for a free meal is, what'd you do to learn? What'd you do to earn this? And you hear stories all the time. The one with leadership was, I noticed that one of my teammates was really down because they missed a few flags and they scored touchdowns on them. So I just went over and said, "Hey, we have a whole second half to play. We have time still. You have time to turn this around." And I just picked my teammate up, and that teammate went off to play really well the second half. So it's the story within the story, right? The sports is fun, and scoring touchdowns is fun and all that, but the learning that happens within the fun, with things like that is the stuff that will last forever. Those are the
Yeah.
qualities they'll take with them into the workforce and into school and into college eventually, and whatever they're going to do in their life, and that's what I really am excited about.
Because you're building resilience, right? I mean, you're building this attribute that there's going to be downsides in life. They're going to go into jobs. They're going to have bosses they don't like. They're going to drop the ball in a project.
Definitely.
So having that reference point of positivity where they did drop the ball, but they picked it up, they kept running, figuratively speaking.
Yep.
No puns
Definitely.
intended, all puns intended. So,
Definitely.
but
Definitely.
that is that life lesson that has that impact. So
Yep.
definitely want to hear more about game day sports, but I want to just double back because you haven't been at this for long, and you left,
No.
a corporate job that you could potentially have been at for the rest of your life into retirement, and you just pushed it all aside. So talk to us
Yeah.
about what has your entrepreneurial journey been like, and maybe describe that a little bit.
Scary, fun. Uh, I could probably use a lot of words, but maybe I'll bring my wife in here and she can express what it's been like for her. But yeah, you mentioned it, man. I was in the higher ed space for 15 years. Was really lucky and blessed to be around that long and to get some promotions along the way. Um, but it's always been on my heart, especially the last 5 years or so, that God was pushing me into a different world, and while things were comfortable and bills were getting paid, and there was certainly a lot of security, I just had it on my heart that I really wanted to grow and start my own thing. And there was a journey in figuring out what that was even going to be. But once it hit me that youth sports was my passion, and this world started to illuminate itself, that's when the journey really began. And that's when I started having those tough conversations with my wife and said, hey, what do you think about me quitting my job and doing youth sports for a living? And I was waiting for her to hit me with the divorce line or kick me out of the house, but luckily she's been a trooper and amazing, and it's and we're right in the middle of it. There's
Yeah.
nothing is written yet. We're in the middle of the grind right now. There's a lot of work to be done. There are no promises. There's no guarantees that this is even going to work. But we're full steam ahead, brother.
So how would you, I mean, obviously that's a big thing. Entrepreneurs, it's a scary thing, right? You
No
leave
doubt.
that security of the paycheck, you leave I mean, just just even figuring out, okay, health insurance.
Yeah, no
Now I've got
doubt.
to navigate all that.
I think I called you for that, so thank you for that.
Yeah,
Appreciate
well,
it.
I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy, so I can pass that along. But I
Yeah.
mean, how do you navigate that fear? And before you answer that, I'll let you think about that. I remember you when we were sitting cubicle by cubicle, coming into work and talking about. You may not even remember this, but your neighbor, where you had these conversations with your neighbor, and you're like, and we always know, like, we're gonna move mountains.
Yeah.
We're gonna tackle mountains. And I've always known that you've had this maybe internal, like, understanding that there's more for you.
Yeah.
There's more for you out there. And I think a lot of people feel that. A lot of people do believe there's more out there for them. But man, getting over that fear to take those steps, to go all in, push the chips into the table and say, let it ride. How do you think about that? How do you do that? What would be your advice for other people who are in that boat right now thinking, how do I make this thing work?
What's funny is it's super ironic because I was lucky enough to be in leadership for a long time, but one of the things I used to tell people all the time was you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and I was saying that in terms of their jobs or helping students or whatever the teaching was. But as this journey started to unfold for me, and I started to think, can I actually leave this job, this incredible position, upper management, and actually do this? My own words started to hit me like a brick between the eyes, and I started to understand that at a different level, man. And I started to look at all the people who are doing things that they're passionate about, and I started to read their stories about the very beginning, and it was never comfortable. It was
Yeah.
never easy. It was never promised or guaranteed. But the promise, if you don't do something and everything's staying the same, that if you want security, then stay where you're at, right? But I really, really spent a lot of time examining myself and understanding, is this fear because I don't think I can be successful, or is it just fear because I've never done it before, and lack of preparation and lack of planning, and once I realized it was more about that, then I just sat down, put pen to paper, got some quality people around me to join me in this journey, and started to figure out what the plan would look like for me to eventually do this. And I can tell you that it took 12 months, right? It was literally
Mm-hmm.
a year between the time of me saying I'm going to quit my job and me actually being ready to do that. So it took 12 months of planning, preparing, and all the above to
Yeah.
actually make the jump.
I think that's such an important lesson, though, because we hear the stories of people making the jump, right? And if you come in mid story and you hear your story, like, okay, he just quit his job that he could be at for a very long time, and now he's got his business up and running. They don't see that grind of, going to work and putting in a full day in corporate America and then coming
Yeah.
home and grinding it out till, the burning the candle at both
Yep.
ends, so to speak, right?
Yep.
So,
Exactly.
and more often, I think the strategy should be, hey, test your commitment level in the midst of your real job,
Yeah.
in the midst of that career, to where if you're not committed to even putting any time towards it, you're really not that passionate about it.
Yep.
And maybe you don't have to, put it all in the middle of the table to find out that you're not that passionate about it, which I think a lot of people do. So love that. I mean, obviously going forward, it's there's still going to be moments of being scared, but pushing through that. That's the key. I remember in 2016, I was training for a triathlon, and literally in three months time, I crashed almost once a month on my bike. And each time I crashed, it was pretty difficult to get up and get back on and start riding again. And if I hadn't been signed up for a race, I probably would have not gotten back on.
Yeah.
But because I'd already committed that money and that, I had made that commitment, I had to get back on. And so I think, the commitment to your vision is what will drive you forward, is what will push you forward. And so people need to be able to find that. They need to be able to tap into that and say, okay, this is more important than the comfort level. It's more important than the safety of the same or the safety of the comfort. So love that. You talked a lot about getting good people around you. And I know a lot of your organization functions based on volunteer work. So talk to me about how you're enrolling people into your cause and maybe make some ties for how other organizations can utilize, the volunteers.
Yeah. That's what was really cool for me is that I jumped back into a space that I came from. Sports was always big for me. And so when I started to put the plan together, I realized just how many people, how many friends I have that grew up playing sports with me or are still associated at some level, whether it's coaching or something else. And so as I started to tap into my own network, I realized that I had a bunch of people who would love to help, would love to be a part of it. Our first season, I remember it was our beta test last summer. In the middle of summer, we launched our first flag
Hold on.
football
Let me
season.
just add in Arizona.
Yeah,
Middle of
Arizona.
summer is like how
Right.
hot and it's kind of cold. So
110, 115. And so my thought was, hey, nobody else is doing it, and because they're smart, but at least we have no competition. Maybe we get 30, 40 kids, and then I'll just see if I like it. I'll see if I enjoy the process. Well, lo and behold, we launched and we had 150 kids register, and I was not ready for that.
wow.
And so one of my biggest needs right away was coaches. And so I started calling a bunch of my friends and who didn't even have kids, on the teams. And a bunch of them raised their hand and said, yeah, man, I'll help you out. I'll coach for you this first season. And what's cool about that is most of those guys stayed coaching with us for the whole next year. So they've been coaching with us
Wow.
now for 4 seasons. And it's just been super, super cool, man. Super cool.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And do you feel like they're tying? I mean, obviously they're tying into your mission because they're committing time away from
Yeah.
their own families. In some cases, they have kids. What would be your advice for other organizations trying to enroll volunteers, or like talk to us about the workings of that?
Yeah, I think it's really critical that everyone knows what the mission is. So for us, anytime we're onboarding someone in the game day sports, whether it's a paid position or volunteer work, we need them to know what we're trying to do. The mission for us is to elevate the responsibility of youth sports. So if you're about helping kids build character, being respectful to everyone, and making a really fun environment, then you can work with us, and we'll train you and we'll give you all the tools you need. But you have to understand the vision. You have to understand the what we're trying to accomplish. And so everyone who's with us, if they're wearing a game day sports shirt, you can trust that they're all about those 3 core areas. And we're just talking about that all the time. So every decision we make, every goal that we set, every new initiative that we're trying out, it has to fit in that wheelhouse of character, respect, and fun.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, I think a lot of small business, new entrepreneurs, they get so much feedback sometimes when they first start that they don't have that clarity of here are the things that are our non-negotiables. They
Yeah.
don't change, that they can then stack everything else up against and say, is this a good idea? Well, does it meet these criteria? Great. Yes, we'll try it.
Yep.
Or nope, it doesn't. We'll
Yep.
be gone. So where did you develop that? Where did you, why did you become so committed to that specifically?
You know what? It honestly has been the culmination of the last year and a half. We've just recently been able to put that into words because, the sense of who we wanted to be was always the same. But as I look back over the last, 12, 18 months, I just thought about all the conversations we've had, all of the meetings that we've had with coaches, all of the tough moments with parents going, a little cuckoo, or coaches, you know, uh, going beyond that line of respect. And as I thought of it, and as I was trying to really put the bow on what we want to be about, those three words, along with our awesome team, those were the three words and the three core areas that just shot out to us, and that's what we've been using already. But once we were able to put it into words, it gave it even more power.
Articulate it.
Yeah, it gave it more power, and now we just now it's part of everything.
So what you're saying is that the product of what you're running today is not the same product that it was 18 months ago. You've made some changes, some iterations, some
Yeah,
pivots.
yeah, for
So
sure, for sure.
I want to
Yeah,
bring that
many,
out, right? Because there's all these
many.
entrepreneurs that
Yeah,
they have their idea and they wait to launch it.
right.
They wait to put it out there. They wait to start talking about it because they're afraid somebody's going to steal it, or they're worried about the outcome, right?
Yep,
But the reality is our products change, our
yep,
businesses change. And
yep.
so recognizing that that's going to happen is an important part of launching and running a successful business.
Totally.
What
Man.
would you, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and we want to be prepared, right? We want to be organized.
Sure.
I'm not saying do it, for flying off the hip or anything. But the best thing we did was learn on the job.
Yeah.
We pride ourselves in being very organized, making sure our parents are communicated with, they know the game time, everything about our sports league. We want to be very organized, but there were a million details that we had to learn as we ran into crossroads or ran into some hot water or figured out along the way. But I wouldn't change a thing, man, because we dove in, and honestly, I feel like I got the best education, a doctoral degree, if you will, by being in it and
Yeah.
living it and seeing it firsthand, and then having to make decisions. And sometimes those were good decisions made, sometimes they were awful. But we don't lose, right? We either win or we learn, and we use the same philosophy for us as we make decisions at game day.
We live or we learn. Love that. And I mean, this is what you're teaching your kids. This is what this is what society needs is
Yep.
it's not all going to be all planned out, all perfect, no errors, no mistakes. That's a part of life.
Yeah.
How do
Yep.
we pivot from it? How do we learn from it? How do we, make adjustments and make tweaks from there?
Yep.
So talk to us about some of the innovative things that you're doing with game day sports, because again, I'm just new to it. My 6-year-old is, we were the parents that like went up the first time. We didn't even have like the camping chairs. We're like rolled in and we're like, where do we sit?
Yeah.
Where are the bleachers? We're in some random park out in the middle of nowhere. The sun's
Right.
like blaring down. There's no cover. It
Yep.
took one game of that, and we're like, okay, we got to get better at this. So we're
No
getting
doubt.
better. But you're doing some things that I don't think I've ever seen in all of my history of ever knowing anything about youth sports. So
Yeah.
talk to us about some of the cool things you guys are doing.
Well, I think we're trying a lot of things, right? Everything doesn't work, but we have a couple of things that I'm really excited about. The first one is I just mentioned we want to be organized. One of the biggest heartaches for me as a coach or as a parent in other places was just the disorganization or lack of communication or not knowing very simple things like where do we play? What time do we play? Or schedules changing in the middle of the season when we already had something planned. So, that was a big sticking point for me. And as I talk to a lot of parents, I know that's a big deal for them. So we partnered with, so for us, technology is huge. So we partnered with a big software company that makes it very easy for us to be able to stay ahead of things, especially with scheduling and communication. And it costs money, and I think a lot, sometimes some people may not see the investment as worthwhile because you may get sticker shock at first, but I can tell you that for us, it's worth every penny,
Mm.
because our technology connects us with each one of our coaches, each one of our volunteers, and each one of our family members. And anytime that we need to communicate anything, it's at at the touch of the iPhone or whatever, and everyone reaches or everyone is reached instantly. And any changes, any schedules, when we send those out, we try to get those out ahead of the time before the season starts, obviously, and we get those out very quickly, very efficiently. All of our outcomes, everything is done through technology, and parents love it. And so we spend the extra dollar to make sure that portion of it is very good.
Okay, so communication is one. What are some of the other innovations that you guys doing? And maybe they're not innovations. I feel like they are, but you kind of have things for all different ages.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't want to talk live about this,
Yeah.
but
No. Well, no. That's cool. Yeah. So we started when we first kicked off. The idea was to do flag football, and we did that with 5 to 14-year-olds, which in itself was kind of a big deal because we were going so young. But what we noticed along our first couple of seasons is, man, we had some 3-year-olds or some 4-year-olds that were always hanging around, and parents were trying to wrangle them while they're watching Big Brother. And so we just, yeah, right. And so we decided to launch what we call Mighty Tykes. And so Mighty Tykes is a skills building course for 3 and 4-year-olds. And so when mom and dad go to watch games, or dropping them off in the Mighty Tykes skill building course, and then we're teaching them and getting them ready. And then we, once they get to league age, then we can have a big graduation for them. And now they're entering our flag football program, not with deer in the headlights, but they're ready to roll, man, because they've been building at this thing for a while. And the same thing with some of the sisters that were there, and they wanted to get involved, and many of them are playing flag football with us because we're a co-ed league, which is we
Mhm.
really like. But we started a cheer program, because we had a lot of sisters that were that thought it'd be really fun to be able to cheer for the football teams, and so we just we got to work and figured out what that might look like, and found a director of cheer and a coach, and build the program and launched that, and it's been growing every season. So some of those things are just they're just natural extensions because the platform
Sure.
is getting so big, and we're just trying to figure out ways for everyone to get involved.
But I mean, is it natural? I mean, are there other groups that have that type of an option? Watching Big Brother or Big Sister play?
Yeah, not a lot of people around us do it, so we think it's pretty
Yeah.
unique. And but for us, it's just we're listening to our families, watching
Yeah.
as we're going through our game day experiences and figuring out how we can keep adding value.
Well, my wife and I play tag team, so I mean,
Yeah,
we're out there, and it's like, hey, you watch the first half, and I'm going to watch the second half,
yeah,
and the rest of the time we're chasing the kids off. One of the fields has a playground, so kids can go play, and we got
yeah.
to still look over.
Right, right.
But no, I think that's huge. I think that's incredibly innovative, and you guys you're new on the scene,
Yeah,
so that has to be building some traction,
definitely,
early on.
definitely.
What's I want to shift gears a little bit because, as we said, you're coming from corporate America. You've had this kind of on the side moving, and now you're in it full time. What surprised you most about this change, this transition?
Well, it's funny how much you learn about yourself. Uh, as vice president of operations at GCU, I didn't realize that when I asked for something to be done, there were legions of people that actually did the work, and now there's just me, or our small team that we're building. But yeah, just a lot I've learned a lot about myself, man. So um, how much I enjoy the entire process. How much I enjoy everything from planning out the next 2 years to talking to the next family that's registering a kid who's never played before. I enjoy the grind. we're at the fields at 6 o'clock in the morning to get everything ready for our families. So by the time they get there at 8, for them it feels like we've, they don't see anything. I didn't know that waking up at 4:30 in the morning on a Saturday was
An
enjoyable.
option?
Yeah, right, or even an option. Yeah,
Is there even a
yeah.
4:30 on the weekends?
I don't. I found it. I found it. But yeah, so the grind. I'm working harder probably than I ever have, for sure. No, probably.
Wow.
I'm working harder than I ever have. But I enjoy every second of it. Everything that may have seemed like a burden before. I just really enjoy now. And I love the whole process.
Well, I think it's impressive. And I remember calling you that first week when you were 100% on your own.
Yeah.
And I've seen other people make that transition where they're like, I'm going to take a week off.
Yeah.
And so I called you pretty prepared to like give you that don't take the time off, get after it. And dude, I
Yeah.
think you'd already been at it for like 6 or 7 hours, and it was like 10 or 11 in the morning. So
Yeah.
you definitely were not wasting any time getting to what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
Where do you guys go from here? What's the vision for Game Day Sports?
Everything right now is about scaling, and so I spend a majority of my time developing relationships and signing partnerships across the state right now so that we can expand our program. So we feel like the last year and a half or so has been just a really strong beta. Our pilot has worked and we feel really good about it. We've learned a lot. And now we're excited to expand. So this year we're going to expand to 2 new locations. Right now we're in the
Wow.
West Valley of Phoenix. We're going to expand to the Northwest Valley and the East Valley. And so that's all happening in the next 6 months. So, which in the past 6 months sounds like forever away. As a business owner, 6 months is like tomorrow.
Yeah.
So like no time to waste. And it feels, everything is urgent, but that's what we're doing right now. We would love to be in across valley-wide in Arizona, and then quickly get over to some of our neighboring states and see how wide we can make this program.
What would be your message for entrepreneurs? So growth, scaling, that's obviously something that many business owners are working toward.
Yeah,
What would be your message, advice, guidance for those entrepreneurs?
I think is let the fear fuel you. Let the doubt fuel you. The scary part on this side of the world is that no one's promising you anything.
Yeah.
There's no paycheck promise. There's no success promise. There's a lot of doubt, and oftentimes, like me, if you're a small business starting, there's no one to even bounce ideas off of. So you may think of an idea. It may be a good idea, but is it the best idea? Who knows? And so stay excited, be confident despite the doubt, and then get some experienced entrepreneurs around you that you can bounce ideas off of, and don't be afraid to get coached up. A lot of times we just want to be our own boss and we think, oh, we make all the decisions, and so that's cool. It's
Yeah.
not that cool when your decisions are poor. So get some people who've been doing it around you, and let them tell you that that's stupid. Don't do it that way, or think about this. That's been really helpful for me, getting some guys around me who've ran their own shop for 20, 30 years and have been around the block a few times.
Love that. The value of a network, I mean, critical.
Yeah,
And that really goes for anybody, whether you're in a career or whether you're a business owner on your own. A lot
yeah,
of times we build our network with people like us or who work where we work, and the more diversified that network is, then the more access we have to different perspectives or different ideas or different innovations. I think
yeah,
that's something that you're doing is you're bringing things in that other people are doing in pockets,
yeah,
but you're bringing them into your business, and that's allowing you to take advantage of some good growth opportunity.
yep.
Awesome. What is the fear that's fueling you, Reggie?
Well, listen, when you leave a pretty decent job, and your family's been used to a certain lifestyle and all that, like there's a lot on the line, man. there's a lot on the line, and I've asked my wife to go on this journey with me, and she's been amazing enough to be a part of it. And not that she's gonna throw anything back in my face, but I certainly want this thing to work, and I want it to be productive and be able to provide for my
Yeah.
family. But also, I have people on the team now. So there's, I'm creating jobs, and these people are depending on these jobs. So I feel that sense of not fear, but just the responsibility to do a great job, because we're impacting a lot of people and a lot of lives, and that can paralyze you if you let it, or it can
Yeah.
fuel you. And for me, it's exciting because I know that every day I got to sharpen that sword. Every day I got to be ready, and I got to bring it. I
Yeah.
can't sit around and not make it happen. It's go time every day.
So one of the things that this show is all about is helping executives, business owners, entrepreneurs really own their business, right? And so not just their business, but their life in general, right? So how
Yeah.
do you managing, your business that's a startup that has all of this responsibility to excel and succeed?
Yeah.
How do you also make sure that the needs of your family are met, the time with your children, the time with your wife, your own well-being? How do you manage all of that and keep it all in check?
I think the best thing I did the first day that I was, free of the corporate job, if you will, and flying solo is I put myself on a schedule from day one, and so I know that when I wake up, one of the luxuries that I wanted to include was taking the kids to school, so I'm taking the kids to school, then I can hit the gym, and then I can go get after it, for a certain amount of time every day, and then put a stop time on that too, so that I can get back home and still be, husband and dad in the
Yeah,
evening. And that schedule doesn't stay the same every day. There are
sure.
things that pop up and emergencies and things that change it, but I know what I got to get back to, and so I know what home base from a schedule standpoint looks like. And I try to stay very close to that, because if I follow that, then I'm touching all the areas that I know I need to touch, and not letting anything get off kiltered.
A lot of transitioning entrepreneurs make that mistake. They don't have a schedule.
Yeah.
And honestly, when we do pull away from that external structure that's happened, whether it be college or whether it be, a job, whether or even like a church can provide that, that's a structure that once it's
For sure.
gone, people have a really difficult time creating their own structure.
No
So
doubt.
making sure that you identify what are the things that are most important. In your case,
Yep.
taking your kids to school, getting your work done, getting your exercise in, making sure that you create that structure and then living into it. That's in general, because otherwise, you could lock yourself in a room and work on your business for the next week
Forever.
and
Forever. Yeah.
nobody would
Yeah.
even see you, right?
Yeah.
So
And you could
allowing,
justify that.
right, exactly.
And you could justify that. And that was one of the things that I think my wife was really good early on, just saying, hey, there's got to be some kind of balance here. I know you got to get after it,
Yeah.
and I know the responsibility you feel, but there's got to be balance. And so that was good for me to hear, because yeah, I could have easily done that and still
Yeah.
can. There's never a shortage of work, or emails or contacts or people to follow up with. So it's important to do that for yourself.
One of the things that I've cited here on the show a couple times before is, the amount of time that parents are spending with kids has actually increased since the 60s, I believe. Increased. They're spending more time with kids, but that's just quantity of time and not quality of time.
Mm.
And, my wife and I were talking today about how, when we look at any given day, we may not spend a ton of quantity of time with our kids.
Yeah.
But when you look at the week, then we do have good pockets of quality time
Yeah.
where we're focused on them. We're not sitting there on our phones. We're not watching TV. We're actually having conversation with them. We're asking them about their feelings and what they're doing, and, what's their perspective on things. So I think you're totally right. I mean, I think making sure that we've got that amount of that time for those people that we love, that is a key to making sure that balance grows. And the most important thing is they don't get lost.
Yep.
And to your point, that looks different any given day. You
Yep.
might have a meeting that goes late, but as you zoom out and you look at the week, you look at the month, is the quality and quantity, is it there?
Yep.
And if it's not, then time to redirect, time to pivot, time to move on from there.
Yep.
What are you most excited about as it relates to your business and the path forward?
Growth, man. I mean, I am right now just laser focused on growth. I'm so excited to see kids across the valley here in Arizona be a part of the Game Day Sports program. I'm so excited to launch new locations and new programs, get new people on board, staffing, volunteers, um, doing more of what we've done in our one location and doing it across the valley. I'm pumped up for that right now. That's goal number one and mission, the next mission on the table.
And it sounds like it's headed in the right direction, Reggie. You're
Yeah.
doing awesome work. Anything that you want you'd like to share about Game Day Sports or about your journey before I let you get back to your work day?
Yeah, thank you. Quick plug. Anyone out there that knows flag football coaches or teams, we are going to have an amazing 2-day summer night showdown tournament at Grand Canyon University, June 30th and July 1st, a Saturday and Sunday. All the games will be at night, 7, 8, 9 p.m. We'll turn the lights on. We'll have some music. We'll have some bouncy, some food. It's going to be a blast. So tell your flag football coaches out there, it's going to be a really fun event.
Love that. I let Reggie announce that because whenever I do it, I mess it up. I always say something like Friday Night Lights. So,
Yeah.
so,
I don't want to get sued. So,
and I'll also make the disclaimer that's in Arizona. So anybody who's
yeah.
watching from North Carolina, unless your team is that good and you want to
Travel,
bring them to
baby.
Arizona,
Come on
then
down. Come on down.
come play on a college field.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Which I don't think I've ever heard of that being done with a junior flag football league. So
Yeah.
kudos to you,
Thank
Reggie.
you.
A joy having you. Thanks for coming on. Love your energy. Love your passion. As always, I just think you're doing amazing things.